I hate this poster. Look at it. The ethereal, boring whites and blues. The generic cold male lead, staring past the female lead while she looks down wistfully. Because this poster was the thumbnail, I almost didn't even watch this drama. I came that close to missing out on what is now one of my favorite Chinese dramas ever because of this awful promotional image. This drama is full of adventure and color and characters that are alive with personality. Look at this, or this. Drama advertisers, please do better. Okay, rant over. As of the making of this video, Generation to Generation is in my top 3 favorite C-dramas of all time. Why? Because of the incredible, consistent quality throughout. This drama has no weak points. It has good writing, good acting, good characters, music, visuals. The plot is strong at the beginning, middle, and end. This consistent quality is such a rare find in C-dramas, where so often the plot or characters get fumbled partway through. So this is going to be one of the few analyses that will be almost entirely praise. I'm not kidding. I even have praise for the opening credits. The melody that plays is so simple, yet memorable. I listen to it every time, humming along. It evokes this kind of nostalgia and wistful yearning for legends long ago, but tinged with regret. Absolutely perfect for this story. The animations and artwork within the credits, like paintings coming to life, are also so beautiful in both simplicity and style. Why do I bother mentioning this? Because it shows that the creators of this drama were committed to perfecting every detail. Now, if you haven't watched this drama, here's a quick recommendation. Generation to Generation is the story of Cai Zhou and Qingyan, 2 young people who have begun their journeys in the Zhenghe, or martial arts world. Who they are and the choices they make force them apart as strongly as their mutual understanding and close bond draw them together. Can they remain true to themselves as they untangle the mysteries and grudges of the past and present? And is there a future where they can openly stand side by side? If you watch this drama, you'll laugh, you'll cheer, not only for our heroes, but also for side characters, and you'll be glued to every scene the leads share together. Okay, spoilers from here on out. Let's explore what makes this drama so good. Cai Zhou, the female lead, is the darling of her sect, which is one of the 6 righteous sects. Her parents are the sect lord and lady of the lively, vibrant Luoying Valley, and Cai Zhou grew up with her aunt tutoring her and training her in martial arts. Cai Zhou also has a very cute younger brother, and her many, many connections and relationships, both within and without her sect, quickly help us see how warm and friendly she is. She has a very strong sense of community, responsibility, and place. She is very clever, and she has a head for business. She loves managing so much that at one point in the drama, she has this hallucinatory dream where she is the boss of a business empire, and the male lead is her servant. But what I love about her most of all is her inner strength and natural grace. The women of the Cai family have a history of being both famous and infamous, and Cai Zhou is now the inheritor of that legacy, along with her aunt's famous sunshine blade. When we begin the story, we find that Cai Zhou is being forced to leave her sect to go train at the Qingyan sect, thus entering the Zhenghe. She doesn't want to enter the Zhenghe, but it is her parents' and her now deceased aunt's wish for her to do so. As the first few episodes unfold, Cai Zhou is quickly revealed to be a female lead who is a capable fighter, and she already is a mature young woman of conviction. She will be tested in what is to come. Qingyan, the male lead, is the young master of the demonic sect. Demonic turns out to be something of a misnomer, though, as characters who get to know members of the so-called demonic sect find out that they are just people, living somewhat cut off and isolated from the rest of the world. They call themselves the Li sect. Mu Qingyan had a very lonely and difficult childhood, growing up amongst the schemes and infighting between the Mu and Nie clans of his sect. He has no siblings, and his only parent who cared about him was his father, who is now dead. Though he is the true heir of his sect, he and his clan have been usurped by the Nies. He is suspicious and cynical by nature, having grown up in such an environment, though he deeply desires connection. He's also a very confident and intelligent person, even devious and manipulative, as he has to be to survive, and he will need that intelligence and confidence in his quest to win back his rightful place as master of the Li sect. He's the kind of guy to have plans within plans within plans. What I especially love about Mu Qingyan, though, is that deep down he has this sly sense of humor and just a hint of mischief. This natural playfulness, paired with his maturity, helps him navigate moments of intense emotion. He doesn't take himself too seriously. At the beginning of the story, we meet him after he was forced to flee for his life from the Li sect, his father having been murdered by Nie Zhe. After Mu Qingyan found refuge with the Chang clan, this clan was slaughtered by a mysterious enemy, leaving him as the only survivor. He, too, starts the story as a fully formed character, with his own beliefs, convictions, and abilities, which will soon be put to the test. The leads meet in the first episode, when Cai Zhou and her family are on their way to the Qingyan sect. They discover the aftermath of that massacre, with Mu Qingyan in a crazed state, badly wounded and desperately guarding the body of the Chang clan leader. The colors in this show are so gorgeous. Also, the director clearly loves shots where the character's hair blows in their face. Once you notice, it's kind of hard to unsee. Anyway, they rescue Mu Qingyan, deducing that he is Changning, the son of the Chang clan leader. He is sent ahead to the Qingyan sect to be taken care of, where he adopts the identity of Changning. Cai Zhou arrives at the Qingyan sect a little bit later, where she once again encounters an angry Changning, who is being bullied by other disciples. Right away, Cai Zhou notices details that are off about his behavior and his so-called identity. Meanwhile, Mu Qingyan is deliberately trying to get close to her in order to use her to help him with his goals. Upon rewatch, when I understood his plans better, I kind of wanted to punch him sometimes. He's such a little conniver, but at the same time, I love him for it. Cai Zhou calls him out on his manipulations, and he admits to it, but he still asks her to protect him, and she agrees. This begins the pattern of very clear communication between these two that stays throughout the whole show. No cringy misunderstandings here. What's interesting to me about this arc of the story is that the two leads develop their incredibly strong bond in spite of the fact that she knows he's hiding secrets, and he knows he is using her to help him. These leads just get each other on an unspoken level that is so delightful to watch. There's this underlying sincerity between them that feels more intense and strongly founded than half the romances I see in cdramas. Several things happen during this arc at the Qingyan sect as Mu Qingyan pursues his goals and tries to draw Cai Zhou into investigating the circumstances around her aunt's death. He is sharply suspicious of the so-called righteousness of the Six Sects, and all around them schemes and plots, both past and present, seem to be brewing from factions both known and unknown. Cai Zhou protects him throughout, and they have many peaceful and happy days together. Days Mu Qingyan later claims to be the best in his life. It's during this arc that he starts to make wontons, which taste so good to Cai Zhou. This becomes something of a running joke throughout the story, as Mu Qingyan uses wontons to bribe her when she's mad or she doesn't want to talk to him. Somehow, he always seems to have access to the ingredients and a kitchen. They meet unexpectedly. Voila! He whips out a bowl of steamy wontons and wafts the steam in her face. Cai Zhou ends up associating wontons with him so much that later, when they are going through kind of a fight, she tells her maid that she never wants to see wontons again. But then a few days later, when she misses him, she breaks down and says she's craving them. Truly, Mu Qingyan is a master of psychological warfare. But alas, the days of Mu Qingyan posing as Changning come to an end as he finally leaves Qingchu's sect. Here it would be easy for the male and female leads' bond to break as their lives part ways. But then Mu Qingyan makes a choice that I find to be wonderfully human. In spite of all his plans and ambitions, he's unwilling to let go of his friendship with Cai Zhou, so when she leaves Qingchu's sect herself to go on a quest, he seeks her out and reveals his true identity to her, just because he wants her to keep being his friend. Cai Zhou is suspicious of him, but she eats his wontons before she drugs him and absconds with his traveling bird. Mu Qingyan then walks out, unaffected by the drug, and his man asks him why he didn't stop her. He answers, if it makes her happy. Undeterred, Mu Qingyan follows Cai Zhou on her quest and joins her party, refusing to get chased away. He seems really happy to be able to reconnect with her now as his true self, and there is a new boldness to his pursuit of her. Meaning, he gets way more flirty. There is a delightful push and pull to their antics as they figure out their new dynamic. Once the adventure is over, Cai Zhou hits Mu Qingyan's acupoint and accuses him of having ulterior motives on the quest. He seems to admit that this is true, but then he breaks out of his paralysis and knocks her out. But Cai Zhou awakes to find herself unharmed, with fresh wontons to eat. She questions Mu Qingyan's man and finds out that Mu Qingyan has left to take back his position as master of the Li sect. And she realizes that maybe Mu Qingyan really did go on this quest just because he wanted to help her. I find this arc to be particularly important because even though the two leads formed a strong bond in the first arc, that bond could easily have been weakened or broken after Mu Qingyan's identity was revealed. But going on an adventure together, far from the politics of the sects, allowed them to reaffirm their bond now that all masks are off. But now the leads are apart again. This drama does an excellent job at handling the lead separations. Many dramas separate their leads because of misunderstandings or because of events out of the lead's control, but this drama has the characters part ways because they choose to do so, because they have responsibilities and goals that are important to them. This drama also doesn't keep them apart for too long, just long enough to make their reunion exciting. And because the characters are so well written individually, their stories, even while apart, are interesting and compelling. It's fun to watch Cai Zhou work to save the people of the Six Sects. It's exciting to watch Mu Qingyan work to gather his forces to take back his rightful place as heir. Next, Cai Zhou is the one to take a step towards Mu Qingyan. She leaves the Qingchu sect with Song Yuzhe, the second male lead, to look for an item that just so happens to be in the so-called demonic sect. They journey across the land, and can I just say, the scenery and the number of on-location shots are so beautiful. Mountains, fields, forests, and valleys. This drama encapsulates an atmosphere that, to me, echoes Western stories like The Princess Bride or Robin Hood, stories that involve journeys, adventure, and romance against a beautiful backdrop of medieval fantasy. These are stories that feel both long ago and familiar. They feel like they should begin with once upon a time in a faraway land. Obviously, this is the Chinese version with Chinese landscapes and the Zhenghe, but it carries that same atmosphere of romance, adventure, and fairy tale. Even the music is often more orchestral, I guess. It puts me in mind of legendary tales. Cai Zhou and Yuzhe meet members of the demonic sect who are villagers and begin to form a clearer picture of who the people of the Li sect actually are. Meanwhile, Mu Qingyan is making his move, forming alliances and picking his battles. At last, the two leads reunite, and Cai Zhou helps Mu Qingyan take back what is rightfully his. As they do, they discover a secret past relationship between a member of the Mu clan and one of the Cai women. That couple never got to live openly together because of their identities, and their story creates an opportunity for the two leads to confront their own situation. Mu Qingyan then asks Cai Zhou if she would abandon everything for the one she loves. She tells him up front, no. This is one of the things I love about Cai Zhou. She has a strong head on her shoulders and a strong sense of responsibility to her family, her friends, and her sect. She refuses to be disloyal or abandon her loved ones just for one person. Her maturity really shines, and it's also what I love about the conflict in this relationship. It does not arise from annoying misunderstandings or external factors forcing the leads apart. Instead, it comes naturally from the characters themselves, who they are and who they choose to be. Back in the scene, Qingyan takes the opposite view from Cai Zhou. He thinks it would be great to leave everything for the person he loves and live just the two of them forever. But Cai Zhou challenges him on this. Doesn't he have his own goals? Even though their way forward seems impossible, their relationship at this point in the story begins to get a lot more romantic, thanks to our flirt master, Qingyan. He dials up his flirtatious behavior and starts acting jealous around the second male lead. But there's this confidence and humor underneath that makes all his jealous and flirty moments extra hilarious. He knows exactly what he's doing, but he's choosing to do it anyway. Cai Zhou also knows what he's doing, but she's not exactly rejecting his advances, and their mutual understanding really shines. As it comes time for Cai Zhou to leave once more, Qingyan begins to feel desperate. He tries manipulating her to stay by his side by pretending to be deathly ill, but when Cai Zhou figures it out, because she's smart and always catches him in his schemes sooner or later, she is angry and decides to leave. Qingyan almost possessively demands that she stay, but after a moment to calm down, he tells her to leave. At this point in the show, the sweet pain of their relationship is really starting to bloom. You can see clearly what is separating these characters, but at the same time, you also see how deeply they feel for one another. It makes you wonder, how can these two possibly be together? As Cai Zhou returns to the Qingyan sect, she is at first angry at Qingyan, but then she still misses him. Underneath it all, she still understands him. Sect politics are shifting and marriages are being proposed. Cai Zhou has a fiancé she's been long betrothed to, and now she is being pressured to marry him. Qingyan hears the news about this and becomes anxious. He sends her a message with a clue about the mystery that they are trying to solve. Along with it, he sends a pair of dice bearing an inscription about missing her. Cai Zhou exclaims, "Who misses you?" and throws the dice. But because of the note, Cai Zhou ventures out of the sect. With her comes her betrothed and many of her fellow disciples. They, coincidentally, run into Qingyan and his underlings, and here is when most of the characters realize that Changning was actually the master of the demonic sect all along. Flirtmaster Qingyan takes full advantage of this encounter he's arranged, and during the following days he becomes almost aggressive in his intentions toward Cai Zhou, insisting that while he's alive, she cannot marry anyone else. But his possessiveness somehow doesn't come across as too overbearing, and it made me wonder why. And I think a major reason is his character's natural playfulness. When he declares that he bought the whole inn in order to arrange a meeting with Cai Zhou, he smirks at his own cleverness. He's cocky, but he's also mischievous. Also, at this point, the characters have a strong relationship already. You know that Qingyan won't go too far, and you also know that Cai Zhou can handle anything he tries to throw at her. When he gets too uppity, she throws him out of her room. When the second male lead is around, Qingyan becomes extra clingy. There's one scene where he scoots in close to lean on Cai Zhou, and she just rolls her eyes at him and shoves him away. And he just grins. He's such a little kid. Cai Zhou makes it clear to him that people from her sect keep their promises, and that she won't back out of her betrothal. Qingyan accepts this from her, but he thinks, okay, so the Cais have to keep their promises, but her fiancé doesn't have to. He gets together with his subordinates and has a very funny brainstorm session about how to get her fiancé to break off the engagement. Their elaborate, hilarious plan pays off, and it's a win for Qingyan. My favorite sequence in the show is during this episode. As Cai Zhou talks with her fiancé, they hear a noise in the room next to theirs. "What's that?" the fiancé asks. Cai Zhou says, It's a stray cat. It's actually Mu Qingyan eavesdropping. His ear is up against the wall. Cai Zhou then kicks in the wall, missing Mu Qingyan by inches. After her fiancé leaves, she looks through the hole in the wall at Mu Qingyan and asks, "Is this relentless entanglement meaningful?" He says, "You are not me. How do you know my joy?" I love him. Then he approaches her and tells her again that she can't marry anyone else. In a fit of pique, she tries to punch him through the wall, but he catches her hand and laces their fingers together. They sit, holding hands through the hole, their backs to their respective walls. He asks her if she has the dice he gave her. She says no, but they are in her hand. He smiles. The symbolism of this scene is so beautiful, as they are separated yet close. In the next arc, Cai Zhou and Mu Qingyan go on another journey together, hunting down another lead of their mystery. But this time, her choice to go off with Mu Qingyan is a little too public, and the elders are starting to realize what's going on between these two. Meanwhile, enemies are closing in on the leads, and in a shocking moment, a clue is revealed that seems to point to Mu Qingyan's father as being the one who betrayed Cai Zhao's aunt. Cai Zhou returns to Qingyan sect under the eyes of her anxious elders, while Mu Qingyan anxiously searches to find the truth. He discovers that his father was innocent, and so he goes to Qingyan sect to bring Cai Zhou this information. He also hopes to force her to choose between her sect and him by walking into the Six Sects trap. Cai Zhou realizes what is happening too late. Here there is a beautiful moment that illustrates once again the lead's mutual understanding. Her mother tries to comfort her by saying, "Maybe he'll get away." But Cai Zhou says, "He won't leave unless he sees me." Mu Qingyan is captured and imprisoned with intent to execute. The grudge between the demonic sect and the righteous sects is deep. Cai Zhou manages to visit him in prison, where she bids him farewell. She behaves to everyone as if she has broken things off with Mu Qingyan and acts very calm. Finally, execution day arrives, and Cai Zhou takes action against everything and everyone she has ever stood for, rescuing Mu Qingyan in defiance of the Six Sects. But she is still Cai Zhou. After making sure Mu Qingyan is cared for, she kisses him goodbye and returns to her people. She takes her punishment and spends a year in confinement. This arc is like the explosion of all the tension that has been built up over the course of the story so far. We see Mu Qingyan driven to his extreme in pursuit of who he loves, reaching for Cai Zhou in a final dramatic gesture, desperate, fierce, and devious. We see Cai Zhou driven to her extreme, choosing to protect the one she loves in defiance of everything, but at the same time still taking a stand for what she believes in. She does not abandon her responsibilities, but instead faces the consequences for her decision. Both characters push their relationship through the fire, and they emerge shaken but steadier. What follows is the longest separation that the leads face, time-wise. Mu Qingyan, in the meantime, handles the demonic sect, and he has calmed down a lot in his feelings toward the female lead. Though he still loves her deeply, he will not take such drastic actions again. Cai Zhou is finally released, and as she is out and about, she encounters Mu Qingyan once more. They are a little bit awkward at first, like exes meeting after a breakup, but soon their connection falls back into place. The leads work together to solve the final mysteries and confront the final villain, the Man in Black. In typical Mu Qingyan style, he ends up publicly arriving at Cai Zhou's sect to propose marriage to her as a part of a plot to catch the villain. At last, the Man in Black is revealed and the final showdown begins. Members of both the righteous and demonic sects team up and the final battle is fought. In the end, a new order is born, in which Mu Qingyan is finally free to marry into Cai Zhou's sect. This arc is a lot more plot-driven than the others, as it has to wrap up all the mysteries and loose ends, but I like how the romance is worked into the narrative. The passion is still there, but they are both more measured, choosing to work through the issues before them until they create a world in which they can be together at last. Cai Zhou and Mu Qingyan's romance stands head and shoulders above other C-drama romances I have watched. There is a kind of Romeo and Juliet feel to their relationship. They are divided by feuds and identities, but also by the choices they make. However, unlike Romeo and Juliet, these leads show a maturity and an ability to communicate that is such a pleasure to watch. Their chemistry is amazing, and both actors command the screen. I love Mu Qingyan's confident, playful attitude towards courtship, and I love Cai Zhao's tolerance, understanding, and inner strength. Above all, it feels like from the moment they met, they understood one another's souls. The drama is much more than just the romance, however. Generation to Generation is also very interested in themes related to the Zheng-Ho, such as betrayal, alliances, friendship, and dealing with the grudges of the previous generation. Past sins cast a shadow on the present, and all characters must grapple with the joys and sorrows of the time. As a character says to Cai Zhou, everyone has their Zheng-Ho. It is time for the new generation to come into their own. The story is packed with complex characters. No, people, because that's what they feel like. Real people struggling to live well. The story is also very interested in exploring complicated relationships through these people. Almost every character, from the side characters to the villains, are engaged in flawed, tangled relationships. The Lord of the Qingyan sect, Cai Zhao's Shifu, or master, is an excellent character to look at first. He is kind of a main character in the drama, featured heavily in the story. Cai Zhou has known him all her life, and he clearly loved her aunt deeply. He is not only the lord of the Qingyan sect, but also the leader of the Six Sects. He cares strongly for Cai Zhou, and as you watch the drama, you see him interact with so many characters throughout the story, until it is finally revealed that he is the ultimate villain, the Man in Black. It is quite the twist. I did suspect him a little, just because I noticed that he happened to be nearby when the Man in Black was showing up, but I couldn't figure out why he would do any of this until they actually revealed his motivations. This man is an excellent villain, and I don't think I can say that many C-dramas have genuinely good villains. He is not a villain in his own mind, and when you look at things from his perspective, you can kind of understand him. The Lord of the Qingyan sect saw the corruption in the Six Sects long ago, and he knew the real reasons behind Cai Zhao's aunt's death. This is why he planned to avenge her and the others that died, destroying the 6 so-called righteous sects and the current corrupted order, so that he could found a utopian future for Cai Zhou and Song Yuzhi. He is motivated by real love, real grief, and a righteous anger. But though he has good motives, he is willing to commit atrocities for his vision of a perfect world. When I understood him, my jaw dropped in amazement. He truly is an incredible character. Upon rewatch, I kept analyzing his scenes with new eyes. I saw how he was despicable, but my heart also ached for him at the same time. He is one of the many characters with complex relationships. He loved Cai Zhao's aunt, but she never accepted him. He ended up marrying the daughter of the man he hated, making her the sect lady, and he had a child with her, a daughter. The relationship between him and his wife is very interesting, and it's explored in depth, and there are some genuinely moving scenes where you see the pain and conflict in their relationship. The sect lady spends her life being faithful to him, and she conducts herself with dignity, but she has suffered seeing how her husband cares for another woman. On the surface, they maintain respect for one another, but there is so much tangled underneath. The first disciple of the sect, I think his name is Dalu, sees the sect lady's pain and empathizes with her. He is such a minor character, but this very simple connection circles around in the end when Dalu sees his master kill his wife. Though he has been loyal to his master all this time and has been deep in the villain's confidences, this drives him to stand up to the villain in the end. This is one of those small, meaningful touches that makes this drama stand out so much. Little things sewn into early scenes will not be forgotten later on. Lingbo, the daughter of the lord of the Qingyan sect, begins the story as a mean girl character. At first I assumed she would be the trope, a bully mean girl who would cause drama throughout the story. She would be hateful and annoying. But then I was surprised, because the story did not do this. Instead, we were brought into Lingbo's world. We saw what drove her actions. We saw her pain and her struggle, who she cared for. We see her naviette, and then we see her grow and change into a mature young woman. By the end, she is a character I can respect. Absolutely fantastic character writing. Her relationships are also complicated. She is betrothed to Yu Zhi, and she loves him, but he does not love her back. Meanwhile, another disciple follows her everywhere she goes, supporting her in everything. Everyone except her can see that he loves her. Lingbo must learn to let go of Yu Zhi, even though her love is sincere, and will eventually see the one at her side. Song Yu Zhi is the person expected to inherit the Qingyan sect. The lord of the sect, secretly the villain, is planning to leave the sect to him and Cai Zhou when all is over and done. Yu Zhi is also kind of the second male lead. He starts to fall for Cai Zhou while still betrothed to Lingbo. Mu Qingyan senses his admiration for Cai Zhou and treats him belligerently. But Yu Zhi avoids every annoying second male lead trap. He does not try to force his affections onto the female lead. He does not try to undermine her or manipulate anything. Even when he recognizes Mu Qingyan's manipulations before Cai Zhou does, he tells Mu Qingyan, his technical rival, that he will let her figure it out for herself. He lets Cai Zhou make her own decisions because he respects her and trusts her to reach her own conclusions. When he recognizes his feelings, he breaks things off with Lingbo and confesses to Cai Zhou. When she rejects him, he eventually accepts it, and he does not fall into ugly, possessive thoughts. By the end of the story, he rises above and earns his way to respect. His father is hilarious. I love Uncle Song. Uncle Song just wants Yu Zhi and Cai Zhou to be together for completely non-evil reasons, and his matchmaking attempts are great. He is overall the best of the sect lords, and I don't think he deserved the ending that he got. Two other disciples in the Qingyan sect are worthy of mention, Fan and Ding, the business-minded bro and the spear dude. They are also minor characters, but so fun and distinct. One scene I remember showcases the excellent writing well. They have just left this tense moment with the demonic sect, and the spear dude notes the attack positions of the enemy. "Really?" the business bro says. "I didn't see any attack positions, but did you see their clothes? They must have some great tailors in the demonic sect." Having even minor characters like this have distinct interests and different strengths makes them come together so well as contrasts of one another and providing so much in-character humor. It's just another sign of the quality of character writing in the story that even the side characters, even minor characters, are written in this way. Even Xiao Lan, a female disciple, gets an arc at the end of the drama that was so epic, I was practically cheering for her. Skipping over to the demonic sect, we can surprisingly find more relational complexity even amongst the secondary villains. Nie Zhi is a villain that at first seems like he will be the main antagonist until he is defeated earlier on. We are treated to some of his inner family life. We meet his wife, a cold woman with a strange personality, and see him caring for his son. We see the twisted, strange dynamics of Nie Zhi with Mu Qingyan's mother, an awful woman who has worked for Nie Zhi since the beginning. She seduced Mu Qingyan's father on Nie Zhi's orders and later poisoned him to death. She even poisoned Mu Qingyan, her own son. Her desire is to be Nie Zhi's legitimate woman, and her presence in the family circle causes strong emotions in Nie Zhi's actual wife, who does not allow the woman anywhere near her son, probably in fear that she will do something to him for some reason. All this adds so much humanity and dimension to a villain like Nie Zhi and leads us to understand the poison dynamics created from his choices, pun intended. We also meet Mu Qingyan's lieutenants, Guan Yu and Shang Guan. Guan Yu is great. I love him. He's hilarious. He's super dramatic and theatrical, and he survived in the demonic sect by feigning weakness, though some of his timidity is real. Mu Qingyan figures him out and forces him to his side. Then Mu Qingyan encourages Guan Yu to prove himself and become a leader in the sect, and we get to see that happen as Guan Yu gains confidence and leadership skills. He's also very in love with a bold, clever girl named Xing'er. But mainly, he's just super funny, and I love every scene he is in. He is the #1 Cai Zhou and Mu Qingyan shipper. Shangguan is the much more serious lieutenant. He has been undercover as Mu Qingyan's man for a long time, and his more straight man personality makes his dynamic with Guan Yu spark with humor. Shout out to Elder Yan as well for being absolutely hilarious. He is the grumpiest old man to ever old man. I adore this character. And it would be remiss to fail to mention Cai Zhao's parents, who are probably the most problem-free, loving couple on the show. They are awesome. Supportive parents, but also strong characters in their own right. And then, there are so many other characters I could mention, but in the end, we can see that the creators of this show really did put in the work to create a world peopled with many, many characters that are complicated, well-written, and variously filled with humor and tragedy. The plot is well-written to the degree that this drama actually improves upon a rewatch, because after you know plot twists and characters, you can now go back and pick up on clues that you didn't notice before and go, aha, I understand this now. I could honestly do an episode-by-episode breakdown and be happy because there is so much that could be discussed. Honestly, it really was hard to summarize a lot of this story, and there were so many things I wanted to talk about in this video that I just had to say to myself, no, we only can talk about the most important things. As for criticisms, there really are no major ones, only some minor nitpicks, such as Mu Qingyan's sad backstory of being locked up in a barn from infancy to when he was maybe 5 years old. His story was already sad, but this detail broke my suspension of disbelief. A child's development, both socially and physically, between the ages of 1 and 5 is insanely important. There is no way any person could be locked up for years at that age and come out without lifelong trauma and stunted emotional growth. You expect me to believe that this mature, intelligent man was set back so extremely early in life? I don't believe it. I found it unnecessary for the writers to add this extra pain onto the male lead story anyway. The story would not have suffered if it was cut. There also were some flashbacks that felt a little bit long. There were some plot points that were a little convenient. And I did wish for the ending to be a bit longer. I wanted to see a bit of the leads' lives together after they got married, even if only for a few scenes. But in the end, Generation to Generation is a story that invites you into a warm, living world full of people grappling with choices, shaped by the relationships around them. It is moving and beautiful, and the consistent quality and atmosphere leads to each episode feeling like I can relax into a story that is in good hands. I follow the story like I listen to a beautiful song, where every instrument is in tune.